Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Retro DM Ray. Hey, so I'm going to come to you today, and I'm going to actually take a look at Forbidden Lands. In particular, I am going to take a look at you uh, with character creation in mind. Um, I think some of the neat ways that we can kind of get a look at how to play a game is to look at how you create a character for that game. And so right here in Forbidden Lands, just to show you, I have in front of me my beautiful looking copy from Free League. Thank you, Free League. Mrs. Bowl from PR, thank you so much for this opportunity to present this. This is my beautiful copy of the Free League Forbidden Lands Player's Handbook. And right here on page 15, it actually gives you how to create your player character. And it says this, how you create your player character is explained in detail in this chapter. The summary below is a helpful overview. Grab a character sheet, a pencil, and follow these steps. And then it's choose your kin, pick your profession, decide your age, spend points on your attributes, spend points on your skills, choose your starting talents, determine your pride, choose a dark secret, define your relationships to other player characters, pick your gear, decide your appearance, and choose your name. All right, so we're going to go through each one of these and create for myself a player character. Now, over here on the upper right-hand side, it gives an alternate method. The standard method for creating a character in Forbidden Lands described in this chapter is quick and effective. You can create a unique character in 15 to 30 minutes. If you want to spend more time creating your character, you can use the alternate method described in the separate pamphlet named Legends and Adventurers. And we will talk about that later on down the line, and I'll take a look at that with you, and we'll go through that. It's really cool. It's just full of old school tables as how to roll stuff like this. It's just really, really cool. This method will allow you to give your player character a deeper backstory from the start of the game. Now, let me stop there. In old school, I'm not a huge fan of deep backstory, but let me also tell you, when they mean deep backstory, they're not meaning like this really like multi-page document that you see in a lot of today's games. If that's your thing, cool. Not my thing. My character's probably not going to live long enough to have that huge backstory, and as he does or she does live, I'm going to begin to develop and play that out over the course of time. I think that's cooler than creating it right up front. So I have a little bit of a misgiving about the way that that's stated right there, but I don't think that their intention is that it's going to have a multi-page backstory with your character, and that's not what I have seen in the pamphlet either. But let's go through this step by step. So the first thing I'm going to do is choose my kin. So many different creatures live in the Forbidden Lands, from ordinary humans to horrifying demonic monstrosities. There are 8 different kin you can choose between for your character: human, elf, half-elf, dwarf, halfling, wolfkin, orc, and goblin. Humans are the most common, but you can choose freely. Each kin is described briefly below and in more detail in Chapter 4 in the Game Master's Guide, which, by the way, I'm of the personal belief that old school should be there's a separation between what the players know versus what the game master knows. You may not play that way, that's cool, but they do that in this game. The Game Master's Guide has much more detailed information than what the players do have access to in the Player's Handbook. I like to keep that totally separated, and then that comes out in play. So when it says there's more detail in Chapter 4 in the Game Master's Guide, they really mean that. Okay. But your choice of kin affects your attributes. Every kin has a unique kin talent that no other kin can have, and for each kin, typical professions are listed. You are not strictly bound to follow these, however. They are always unique individuals who walk unusual paths in their life. So, here's your kin. You have a human. Key attribute is empathy. Kin talent is adaptive. All profession types is typical. And then there's typical male and female names. Then you have an elf. There's an elf. Key attribute, agility. Kin talent, inner peace. Typical professions, druid, minstrel, and hunter. Typical male and female names. Half-elves. There are half-elves in this game. Key attribute, wits. Kin talent, psychic power. Typical professions, druid, rogue, or sorcerer. Typical male and female names. There's the dwarf. Key attribute strength, kin talent true grit, typical professions fighter, minstrel, and peddler. I like that idea. There's a halfling. If that doesn't look like a hobbit to you, I don't know what does. Key attribute empathy, kin talent hard to catch, typical professions minstrel, peddler, and rogue. Typical male and female names. Then you have wolfkin. What a powerful picture, right? It looks really cool. Key ability agility, kin talent hunting instincts, typical professions druid, fighter, hunter, and typical male and female names. Then you have an orc. Key attribute strength, kin talent unbreakable, typical professions fighter, hunter, and rogue, typical male and female names. Then you have a goblin. And there's a goblin. Key attribute agility, kin talent nocturnal, typical professions hunter, rider, and rogue, and typical male and female names. So I am going to build for myself my kin, and my kin is going to be a wolfkin. Yes, I'm left-handed. Sorry, I'm gifted with greater intelligence in that way. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Totally. So here's what it says about wolfkin. You're part of this land. The other kin is primitive and spoiled, needing to go inside to warm their paws by the fire after a day in the woods and boil their meat so that their weak stomachs can handle it. They couldn't stand the breath of the huntress, so they died like weak pups. It's known that rot springs from such weakness. You and your pack live as was intended. You hunt. You howl together and do not beat wood or tin cans because your own voices have grown weak. You will roam day and night, basking in the far parts of the creation of the goddess. You long to wander unknown forests, to smell the distant scents and drink the intoxicating blood of strange prey. All right, so let's go back to we have chosen our kin. So now we're going to pick our profession. So here we go. Here's professions. The next step is selecting a profession for your character. All the player characters are adventurers, but you have learned a thing or two before the game begins. Your choice of profession will determine how much about your character. Your profession will influence your attributes, your skills, your starting gear, and what special talents you can learn. There are 8 professions to choose from, all described on the following pages. Each kin description lists typical professions for that kin, but you are free to choose any profession you like. So, first profession up for choice, druid. Key attribute wits. Skills, endurance, survival, insight, healing, animal handling. Typical nicknames, windwalker, ravenclaw, or wood dweller. And then they have the pride, the dark secret, the relationships, and the gear. Then you have the fighter. Key attributes, strength. Skills, might, endurance, melee, crafting, and move. Typical nicknames, grave marker, grimjaw, and iron boot. You have hunter. Key attribute, agility. Skills, stealth, move, marksmanship, scouting, and survival. Typical nicknames, wolf killer, pathfinder, and red fox. Interesting that you have wolf killer as a typical nickname for a hunter. I'm pretty sure my wolfkin would object to that. Minstrel. Key attribute, empathy. Skills, lore, insight, manipulation, performance, and healing. Typical nicknames, silver tongue, beguiler, madrigal. Peddler. Key attribute, empathy. Skills, crafting, sleight of hand, scouting, insight, and manipulation. Typical nicknames, gold tooth, silver smile, and the honest. Haha, really, the honest. I like that. If that isn't some irony there. Rider. Key attribute is agility. Skills, endurance, melee, marksmanship, survival, animal handling. Typical nicknames, Spearhawk, Blackmane, Wind Rider. Rogue. Key attribute, agility, skills, melee, strength, sleight of hand, move, and manipulation. Typical nicknames, Halffinger, Red Eye, and the Rat. And yeah, Halffinger is probably a great one based on all those traps and locks. Yeah, that's for sure. The last one is Sorcerer. Key attribute, wits. Skills, crafting, sleight of hand, lore, insight, and manipulation. Typical nicknames, Root Heart, Grey Cape, and the Wise. So, I like the idea of having a wolfkin, but I'm going to go and play against type, and I'm going to be a wolfkin sorcerer. So, once I pick sorcerer, as you'll see back here, then you decide your age. That's the very next step. And the reason why that is will be apparent in just a moment. The next step is choosing your age. Many adventurers leave their village at a young age, but sometimes older individuals are forced out to hunt for treasure among the ruins. Age is divided into 3 categories: young, adult, and old. You choose your age freely. Write down your choice on your character sheet. Your chosen age category affects your attributes and your skills. Read more about these below. Elves don't age in the normal sense of the word. Technically, they all count as adult. And the reason why that's important is because when it comes to attribute points. So I'm going to go ahead and discuss the attribute points. Your adventure has 4 attributes that indicate your basic physical and mental capabilities. Your attributes are used when you roll dice to perform actions in the game, and also how much damage of various kinds you can withstand before you become broken. You will read more about this in Chapter 5. So, typical ages for a human, you see this table here. Young is 16 to 25, adult 26 to 50, old 51 plus. I could argue that. We won't do that. Half elf 16 to 30, 31 to 100, and 101 plus. Dwarf 20 to 40, 41 to 80, and 81 plus. Halfling 16 to 25, 26 to 60, and 61 plus. Wolfkin 13 to 20, 21 to 40, and 41 plus. So the youngest lived race. Orcs 13 to 20, 21 to 45, and 46 plus, so just slightly behind the Wolfkin. And then Goblin 16 to 25, 26 to 60, and 61 plus. The reason why that age matters is because you have this section on starting scores. When you create your player character, you can distribute a number of points across your attributes. How many points is determined by your age. See the table below. You can assign no less than 2 and no more than 4 to any attribute. However, you can assign 5 points to the attribute listed as the key attribute for your kin or your profession. If the same attribute is key for both your kin and your profession, you can assign it up to 6 points to this attribute. This is where age comes into play. So if you're young, you get 15 attribute points. Adult is 14 and old is 13. Now let me read the attributes and then I'm going to go back to that for a second. Strength, that's your raw muscle power, your brawn, and your stamina. Agility is your body control, speed, and motor skills. Wits is your sensory perception, intelligence, and sanity. And empathy is your personal charisma and the ability to manipulate others. Okay? And when you're going to be broken, it's related to these different stats. Okay? Each one of these can be broken, and different things would occur based on whether or not they're broken. So there are no hit points, per se, exactly like that at all in Forbidden Lands. It's a similarity, but it's just a comparison of one type of idea of having hit points versus another kind of having like a body points, a composure of yourself or what you're made of. So that's how these are broken down. And the reason why I say this is important is because as you gain experience, you may continue to increase in skills and talents, but your attribute points will never change. So if you're wanting to maximize your potential in the long haul, again, this is min-maxing. So I don't encourage you to play like this, but I'm just informing you. The way the system functions is attribute points once set are never changed. Okay? They're never changed. So if you're going to be focusing on the min-maxing or the build type of things, which is not a thing in old school, but I understand many people kind of do that, or maybe your mind just thinks that way, or maybe you're thinking further down the road. Forbidden Lands is very dangerous, just like old school, so further down the road is the next gaming session might be the only one you survive, if that. Attribute points really matter. So being young gives you the higher amount of attribute points, but you'll get less skills and you'll get less talents. But then you'll be able to grow into those things. Whereas old gives you less attribute points because you've atrophied during age, but you'll get a lot more skill points and a lot more talent points. So it's however you want to build. And of course, adult is the medium in between that, right? It gets a fair number of attribute points, 14 versus 15 or 13. A middle of the road point of skills and talents as well. Okay. So I kind of like the idea of an old Gandalf type of wolfkin that's been with the tribe for a very, very long time. He's been a soothsayer and a sage, and those types of things, but he's never really left the tribe to go out and do his own adventures out in the wide world beyond just his scholarly studies. He's never been tested, as it were, as Gandalf says of the Balrog and Moria. There are many things he's never been tested against, and that would have been one of them. So I like that idea. So I'm going to place my age for my Wolfkin at old, which is going to give me 13 attribute points. Okay. So then I'm going to go ahead and write down my attributes. I'm just going to abbreviate them here. All right, so then I'm going to go back to the process of character creation. I'm going to work my way back through again. So now I've picked my profession, I've decided my age, I've spent my attribute points, or I'm going to. So I'm going to go back to Sorcerer, and that key is going to be wits. Okay, so I'm going to want a pretty decent wits. I've got 13 points. I'm not as concerned about that, and I'm a bit concerned about that. I'm certainly concerned about that, so I want that pretty high. And I want to have a decent agility because I am still a wolfkin. Okay, so that's what I'm going to set my attributes at there. And so I've spent my attribute points. All right, now I'm going to go back to the next stage, which is I'm going to spend points on my skills. So here I go back to this section. This is now on page 33, and I'm going to talk about skills. When you create your player character, you distribute a number of points to your skills. How many points is determined by your age? See the table below. You can assign up to 3 points to each of the skills listed for your profession. You can assign a single point each to any other skill you choose. You can increase your skill levels during the game. So I'm old. I have 12 skill points. So I'm going to go back to Sorcerer. All right, and here's my skills. Crafting, sleight of hand, lore, insight, and manipulation. All right, so I've got the skill points that I have, which are 12. Okay, I'm going to take, let's do lore, and I'm going to put 3 there. I'm going to put insight, since I'm kind of like Gandalf. I'm going to put 3 there. Manipulation, he was certainly a master of that, but I'm only going to put 2 there. And then I'm going to save these 2 spaces for something that I'm going to show you here in a moment that a sorcerer can do. Okay, so I've got 3, 6, 7, 8 here so far. And that's going to leave me 12. So that's going to leave me 4 out of my 12. Okay? So I'm good at lore, I'm good at insight, I'm good at manipulation. My empathy is just okay for manipulation purposes. But we're going to leave that for now. Okay, then I'm going to go back here, and now I'm going to go to my starting talents. Okay, so Sorcerer doesn't say anything itself about starting talents. So I'm going to go here. Talents are tricks and abilities that give you a small advantage in the game. They are more specialized than skills, provide you with a way of fine-tuning your character. Talents are described in Chapter 4. There are also special talents for your kin and for your profession. All right, so first we're going to go back to my kin, and we're going to see that my wolfkin talent is hunting instincts. So I'm going to put hunting instincts there. All right, then at the start of the game, you get a number of talents that depend on your kin, your profession, and your age. Your kin talent, a profession talent of your choice. All right, so we're going to take a look at Chapter 4, particularly about talents. Sorry. There we go. So profession talents. All right. So the sorcerer's talents. All right. You have Path of Blood, Path of Death, Path of Signs, and Path of Stone. I'm going to detail these out for you later, but I'm going to just go ahead and pick mine for now. I do know what they are, and I'm going to go ahead and pick those now. Particularly, I'm going to pick this now. And I'm going to pick Path of Signs. Okay. Then I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to get a number of general talents depending on my age. So here's age in play again. I'm old. I have 3 general talents. So go back here to general talents. Okay. You have Pathfinder, Poisoner, Quartermaster, Quick Draw, Sailor, Sharpshooter, Sharp Tongue, Shield Fighter, Sixth Sense, Smith, Spear Fighter, Steady Feet, Sword Fighter, Tailor, Tanner, Threatening, Throwing Arm, and Wanderer. Okay, I've got 3 of those. So actually what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to take Sharp Tongue. And I think I'm also going to take Sixth Sense. I think that adequately represents like a Wolven Gandalf, if you will. So those are the 2 that I'm going to take, and that leaves me 1. Okay, that's going to be a significant for that character. Every talent has 3 ranks. You normally start the game with rank 1 in each talent, but you can choose to forgo 1 general talent, starting the game with a rank 2 in another one. You can increase your talent levels and learn new talents during the game. All right, so each one of these is rank 1. Okay. But I am going to use that 1 that's left over here to make this one a 2 now. So I have Path of Signs 2. What that is similar to is that lets me cast spells powered at rank 1 or at rank 2 in level. Okay? And I'll explain spells and all that stuff at a later time in another video. We are just working on basic character creation for now. Okay? And then I've got my general talents that's done. Okay, now I'm going to determine my pride. Now, if you look at Sorcerer, here's the options for pride, and you can make up any that you want. Nothing scares you. You have seen the veil, the world behind the veil. Whoever threatens you will die a painful death. Or you have read many books, and you know the ways of the world. Okay, well, that last one sounds like Gandalf to me. So I'm going to just write that as well read and worldly wise. Okay, so back to character creation column. Now I choose my dark secret. All right, so this is something that only your character knows. You shouldn't be discussing this out loud at the table. This should come out in play, in my opinion. Some of it links with the history of the Forbidden Lands. So take care of this at your leisure or at your play style, but no one would see this on my sheet. Only myself and the Game Master would know this. Here's 3 possible choices. You can make up your own. You're haunted by visions of the world behind the veil. Your yearning for more magical power is stronger than anything else. Zygofer the Spellbinder haunts you in your dreams and makes you obey him. I'm going to say that my dark secret is I consider myself a protector of what is left of good in the world. So I consider myself a protector of what is left of good in the world. So that could definitely get me in trouble as my dark secret. So now define your relationships to the other player characters. I would say relationships wise, I'm amicable but wary. All right, now I'm going to pick my gear. Couldn't be simpler. We go to Sorcerer Gear, and here's what you start out with. a staff, or a knife? We're emulating Gandalf here, so I'm taking a staff. One item of your choice from the list of trade goods. We can look at that later when we take a look at gear. And then I get what's called a D8 in silver pieces. And then I have resources. And I get food of a D6 and water of a D8. Now, what do these mean? Very cool thing about the Hexcrawl old school aspect of this game. You do not have, I have 100 silver pieces, I have 50 silver pieces, or whatever. Here's what you do. You put the book aside. Here's what you do. So I have a D8 silver pieces. So I'm going to go and spend my silver pieces and buy an item. I want to buy this item. I look at how much it costs. Does it cost silver? Yes. Okay. I'm going to go to the counter. I'm going to role play and ask the person if I can purchase the item. He's going to give me that or a list of choices of different aspects about it that I could purchase. I'm going to purchase it, at which point then I am going to roll my resource dice, my D8, and I didn't get a 1 or a 2. So guess what? I had enough silver to purchase it, and I still have D8 silver. If I would have rolled a 1 or a 2, I spent a lot of silver to purchase that thing. I thought I had more, and now I have D6 silver. Now, if I then ask to buy something else, and I roll again, and I don't get a 1 or a 2, I still have D6 silver. And if I do get a 1 or a 2, I no longer have D6 silver, and once you go below a 6-sided dice, you no longer have that resource. So that's how you spend yourself out of resources. Such a cool, quick way to do resources. You don't have to track how many of this or how many of that I do or don't have. It's the same with water, and the same with food. I really think that is so cool and so easy to do. Okay? So easy to do. Something I'd like to have thought of a long time ago for some old school games that would have made some things a little simpler. But hey. So we've gotten our gear. Again, I haven't picked my one useful item. I'll do that at a later time. Then I'm going to decide on my appearance. I'm going to go back here to Wolfkin, and I'm going to say that I am a grizzled white and silver-haired looking wolf, a bit more stooped over than he is, leans heavily upon my staff, heavily robed, and with my hood often up so as not to intimidate others so that I may be able to help them if they need. Then I'm going to do the last thing, which is choose my name. And I'm going to choose my name, which is Wilgar. I like some of those old Viking type names, Nordic type names. So I'm going to say my name is Wilgar. And that's the simple way to just walk your way through quickly creating a character for Forbidden Lands. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope that you will tune back in for some more as we take a look at covering this stuff. As we take a look at it more, maybe I'll come back and visit what am I going to do with these extra points that I have left over here. Out of the 12, I've still got 4 points left over here. So what am I going to do with those, and why did I hold on to that? What's my item that I'm going to choose here for my character, and why? We'll take a look at that kind of stuff. We'll talk about how the dice mechanics actually work and how you would roll things. But I just have to say that the coolest part is how fast was it to create this old school character like that and follow that, and you're done. And guess what? You're jumping in and you're getting ready to play. It's as simple as that. I love that about the system, and I love the Hexcrawl simplicity of these resources. Wow. Just so super cool. I hope you like these videos. I hope you like my coverage of Forbidden Lands. Again, if you do, please like, share, subscribe. Again, the channel is always G-rated. There's no political or social or any of that other nonsense commentary. It's just good old school stuff. I hope you'll think about getting into Forbidden Lands. Again, I appreciate Free League and their PR department for making connection with me and allowing me to share all these things with you, and so many things more to come in the future. One Ring 2nd Edition, which I'm looking forward to doing, and continuing to cover some more old school spells. Leave some comments and some suggestions and some thoughts in the comments. I would appreciate that. I would love to see those. Get your insights and your thoughts about this game and others, and suggestions about things. And please consider supporting me on a PayPal, on Patreon, on my Kofi, other things like that. Joining me on my Facebook page. I'd really appreciate that. Thanks again for watching. Take care. Y'all have great games. Have a great day.